who they is. I'm not a respecter of persons. When you wrong, you fucking wrong. I'm going to stand in the position of right, tell the truth, and I'm not going to give a fuck who get offended. Right? So when y'all understand what I'm doing, then you will know why I had to do it that way. I don't do nothing without a reason. This is all strategic. Well, so we got a 12:45 start time. 12 being the zodiacal seal. 4 and 5 is 9, meaning born. Born from the zodiac. So I'm going to do some invites here while I wait on Nana Woo Woo to come in. Because we need to talk to y'all about Nana Woo Woo. I'm going to do some invites. Nana going to do some invites to this. And as we about to go over their system, because anytime you enter into a courtroom, you have to prove your jurisdiction. When the question of jurisdiction arises, all processes stop until the jurisdiction is competently established. So we about to go through here and deal with their jurisdiction. Now, for those who don't know what jurisdiction is, this is their authority or power to adjudicate a legal matter over you. So I'm going to do a couple more invites. I'm not going to do a lot because I want to get into this with Nana Woo Woo, and I need to get her in here on the feed. So I'm going to do a couple more here. And from here, we can start sharing this video to see who is who and what's what. So the jurisdiction is the most critical aspect of law, right? The most critical aspect of law is the jurisdiction. The jurisdiction overrides the actual crime accused or committed, however you want to look at it. So if you kill somebody in China, they can't try you for a murder in China in the United States. And if they want to do that, they have to make a connection. They have to make a connection with what's being done here to what's being done elsewhere. Nana Woo Woo, they're not giving me the option to invite you in so we can get started. So what I need you to do is send me a request if possible. Okay, I think I might have got it. I think I got it. Okay, now look at that. So when we go into these people's court, right, we don't understand what we face with, what we up against, or how to get out of it. We don't know how the fake system work or where it came from. But what we can do is we can make them prove that their jurisdiction is competent, but they can't prove it if you ask the right questions. So while I'm waiting on Nana Woo Woo, I'm just going to give y'all a little discourse on legal matters. When you go into a courtroom, the first phase is called the arraignment. Now, you will not find it in law as just, excuse me, y'all. You will not find arraignment in the law just under arraignment alone. That's called, in civil law, that's called the joinder of the parties. Now, all law is commercial, right? And if all law is commercial, that means that all law is founded on a business transaction of a contract. Commercial means to be in levies and liens. Now, when you look at the word levy, you will see a Jewish tribal name of Levi, right? And the lien system, lien is an anagram for Enlil. So Enlil's Levite system is what you are under. Now, if you remember in the Christian book called the Bible in the New Testament, it says in there that I come to deliver you from the law unto grace. What's the difference? Well, we are under the Levitical law that's spoke of in the book right now. And we know that because Judah is the judges. The word judge is Judah. It's the same word, different language. The word Levi is Levi. And it's the same word, pronunciation change due to, yes, contracts has to be between two living beings unless it's between two legal fictions, which we go into a system designed, the harder we try to escape it, the deeper we get into it. So you hear people asserting their sovereignty, and they end up with fraud cases in the federal courts, and they don't know why. You hear people that argue that they have a right to roam the land unmolested, but then they end up being thrown into the system for fraud. And we're not understanding what none of this really means or what's taking place. So one of us had to be just crazy enough to figure this shit out for us. And so the first thing they have to do in order to adjudicate a case is to make the two parties present before them in a system. Now, there are several things that spoils jurisdiction of a competent nature. One of them is called an irreconcilable conflict of interest. I sent you the request, Nana. Did you get it? Okay, so while I'm waiting on Nana, I don't know if she got my request or not, because I've been getting a lot of interference on my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I can't even use Instagram or Twitter competently because my feeds, my messages don't show up, all kind of stuff. Oh, okay. Yep. So Nana Woo Woo not in because she says she's not getting sound on her end. So I'm just gonna walk y'all through it. The first thing, I'm gonna have Portia pull up something. Right. In the joinder of the parties, both parties, right, have to acknowledge the transaction. Now, in a criminal case, it's only one party present most of the time, and then there's a prosecutor in the criminal case. If the prosecutor is not the actual and factual victim, and he's sitting in that seat, he's what you call standing proxy. He's standing in the place of the victim. So this created the first conflict. The victim is not present after the joinder of the parties or at the joinder of the parties. So who are the two parties? The legal fiction and the legal fiction. Because you don't actually need a person present when you have two legal fictions. A legal fiction is commonly called the straw man. The straw man is another name for a corporation, or what they call in law a 14th Amendment citizen with a small c. The definition or the identification of the straw man is determined in law by something called style and title. Style and title mean how is it written and how is it expressed when it's written. Example, in the state of Michigan, there's a specific style and title that the law books say must be present. Okay, Carrie. So the style and title tells you if you are faced with a legal fiction or if you face with what they call a competent jurisdiction. So if you don't understand style and title, you lost already. You are in a losing position because you don't know the rules to their game, right? So, Portia, look up all law is commercial, right? And it's going to pop up a judicial code that the people not normally privy to. But it's going to tell you exactly where it's at. All law is commercial. All commercial law is governed under the Uniform Commercial Code. The Uniform Commercial Code extends back in antiquity as what they call the Code of Thieves. You had two codes that people lived by, which was the Code of Righteousness and the Code of Thieves. What they call in mysticism your left-hand path and your right-hand path. The left-hand path are your lesser vibratory energies being used to maximum benefit. Your right-hand path is your higher vibratory energies being used. Now, when you understand style and title, and when you understand the commercial nature of the activities that they call law, then it starts to make a little bit more sense, but it gets more. So all law being commercial, slide this over here. Let's see if I can look some of this stuff up too, because I know what I'm doing. Okay, so all law being commercial mean that only way that it affects you or applies to you is that you have to be commercial as well. I mean that you have to either be property or you have to be standing in to represent a piece of property. When you standing in to represent a legal property, that's when they call it holding you in reprisal of the debt. The reprisal is the collateral for the debt. Now, if you murder, rob, steal, that's still commercial. In law, you have what you call courts and adjunct courts that's dispensed under the Constitution as Article 3 jurisdictional courts. There is no court that's an Article 3 court that is not federal. Let me say that again. There is no Article 3 courts that is not federal. Now, state law and state jurisdictional courts that they call criminal courts or recorders courts. These courts are adjuncts. That means they don't really have jurisdiction. They're operating under what they call assumed jurisdiction. The only thing in law that stops everything in its tracks is the question of jurisdiction. Innocence or guilt is irrelevant to the dispensation of the commercial instrument at play. You are a piece of property that they use They might be taking stuff off for access. This used to be so easy to find, I didn't even bother. I got it wrote down somewhere, but I would have to look through my paperwork. Yeah, okay, all law being commercial, your name in all caps classifies you as a straw man. What is the straw man? Because we remember we had the scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz was the straw man. And the scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz represents you as a legal fiction. Now remember what the scarecrow was going to see Oz for. A brain. He didn't have a brain. The cowardly lion, who's supposed to represent those sleeping so-called Judites, had no courage, so he was going to get a heart. But then you had your tin man, which is your tax identification number, that the straw man uses for an account. But now, look at the tin man. What was his issue? You see, he wanted a body. He wanted to be real. So as you go through the story of the Wizard of Oz and you find the correlations, you question jurisdiction in a specific format. The first question is, do you have jurisdiction? Now, of course, they're going to tell you yes, because they don't think that any of us have enough sense to figure it out. So you have a series of questions. One, is all law commercial according to federal law? They have to tell you yes. That's the correct answer. If all law being commercial, then what is the commercial nature of this transaction, and how do your jurisdiction affect me in your transaction? They stuck already, but you're going to push. I find jurisdiction incompetent for the following reason, and you simply state irreconcilable conflict of interest. So the judge or whoever's sitting up there pretending to be the judge going to say, what is the irreconcilable conflict of interest? That is this. In law, there must be adversarial parties. That means there got to be two sides. If you have an attorney representing you, and they have a prosecutor representing the interests of the people, or the state as they call it, and then you have a judge that's an unbiased fiduciary that's supposed to monitor between these two opposing entities, we have a problem already. All three of them are bar members. All three of them are bar members. That's the next question that you ask. Are you a bar member in good standing? The judge is 9.9 out of 10 gonna say yes. Next question. Is the prosecution a bar member in good standing? They're gonna tell you yes. Is my attorney a bar member in good standing? They're gonna have to tell you yes. Automatic conflict of interest because you are not a bar member. Period. You are in a courtroom with barristers. You got to understand this. All things taking place in the courtroom is a paper matter between barristers. You are what you call a sovereign indigenous person operating as such. You are not a straw man, nor should be held in reprisal for a debt that you did not create at its source. Right? Now that is critical. You didn't create the debt at its source, but you are being held in reprisal or as collateral for this debt. So what's next? In order for them to have a competent jurisdiction, you need a competent attorney that's not a member of the bar. The bar was created in 1863 by an act of King George III of England. Had nothing to do with us. We was already here and we already had our system in play. They call them tribal courts now. We was already doing this before they came. And we was doing it in what you call in liberty and justice courts. Liberty courts are courts that's going to try to make sure that you are not penalized for something that you had no control over. Yes, bar members. Every bar member is an agent of the crown. They are a foreign agent to this land. How do you know this? Every attorney has the title of Esquire. Esquire